All right, everybody. Hope we're all doing well. As you may see from the how I set up the video, it's a discussion about underrated sequels. So we wait for people to join the live chat or the comments going forward for the channel. I hope everyone's having a good evening out there, and might as well get right to some underrated sequels. This is going to be in no particular order. Just kind of name some of the sequels that I think are underrated, that I think either exceed the original or how should I say this? Bring into bigger context, change the direction. It's called underrated sequels, this video, but really, we're just gonna talk about sequels, some that are just kind of not talked about as much as others, and movies that we wished could have had sequels. Is on Cameron. Cameron's on the Sausage Factory sometimes. He had on his channel Obnoxious and Anonymous today talking about Married to the Mob, that there would be a sequel. And he also wanted to know more about some of the deleted scenes and extra material from the earlier screenplays and also that are in the end credits. So I have some information regarding that for anyone that likes Married to the Mob. But honestly, there's no sequel for that, so that's not part of this discussion. But had there been a sequel for that, that would have been interesting to see. So participate out there. Who are some of your favorite underrated sequels? Tell me more about some sequels that you feel are underrated. Uh, I'd love to hear. Go ahead and put it in the comment section or participate in the live chat. And we do have people that might be joining us via Google Hangout. But there's also a chance that maybe I didn't set up everything just right. So sorry, some people are working on the house and they're still not done, even though it's dinner time. Ha. We're updating the studio here. So yeah, tell me some of your underrated sequels. What sequels do you feel are most underrated? Are we ever going to get this Top Gun 2 sequel? That's kind of what got me thinking about it. Because I saw on Collider John Roca talking about Top Gun, and it just made me think, hey, man, Mark Ellis, I remember he announced that the Top Gun movie would be delayed, and that was 6 months ago, and I haven't heard a hide nor hair. Incidentally, I'm a fan of Perry Nemiroff's work, but just goes to show you how difficult it is to host a show really well. And Mark Ellis is really missed at Collider. Perry comes across as shrill, annoying, talking too much, not able to lead the discussion. I hope that she can improve, but I actually just hope that another host comes in there. All right, we'll stick to the topic at hand here. I'm going to start off with The Lost World, Jurassic Park 2, Jurassic Park 2, The Lost World. I don't care if it's loyal to the book. I don't care if it ends up in San Diego. I don't care if it's kind of like a monster movie at the end. I don't care. I find it to be an entertaining movie. The experience of seeing it in the theaters was vastly different from when I saw Jurassic Park in the theaters. I was still like 11 or 12, a young boy, was seeing Jurassic Park. When Lost World came out, we were all token up before we see it and trying to sneak in and thinking of all creative ways to get in and all that. So yeah, definitely was an event experience. I think it had the box office record for a while for opening weekend, and still might have some Memorial Day ticket records. I don't know about money anymore, but tickets sold for sure. The movie sold a lot of tickets, as of course did the first one. I actually would have to watch them both to see what I enjoy more. But anyway, those that's definitely one that would fall into it for me. One right out the gate that's actually maybe even here playing in the other room is Under Siege 2. Now I saw that film in theaters and I did not enjoy it. I saw it at the Upland 8 Edwards Theater with my family. There was an arcade next door called Rockets and Pockets. A lot of people would smoke cigarettes out front of it. Late 80s, 90s. So obviously this is in the mid 90s. This theater is starting to fall apart at that point. And so we see Under Siege 2 there. And I don't really recognize anyone in it except Steven Seagal because I didn't really know all these actors' names at that point. But now that I do know who's who and all that, and I knew who Eric Bogosian was, but honestly became way more of a fan of his work once I've seen a lot more of his other films and plays and stuff. And I love his performance in it. I think I never knew about Everett McGill back in the day, but when I watched him in that, quiet, restrained performance as a second villain, I guess, second chair. The woman from Hot Shots 2, Hot Shots Part 2, real sexy woman in that. Does a real good job in Under Siege 2 as well. She don't want to give up the codes, but the dude that she's banging gives up the codes, and then they both give up the codes, and then they both get either shot or thrown out of the train. So I find Under Siege 2 to be a much more brutal plot. Sure, soldiers are executed in Under Siege, but they're executed at sea. They're hoarded around. They're soldiers. In Under Siege 2, these people are scientists, not civilians by any means, but they're beautiful, nice looking woman and the guy toyed with for the codes, and then once they're done away with, they're tossed out of the train without any mercy. In fact, with a healthy degree of mockery. So that element of it, that sinister nature of Eric Bogosian and his crew in Under Siege 2, and the whole concept of them being in a dark territory, train-wise, where they're out of contact, I guess. It's always fascinating to me. Not necessarily the first time I saw it, but I think that was kind of a group dynamic deal. Like, no one in my family liked the movie, and I didn't like it either, I guess, and then I just didn't like it, But now that I watch Under Siege and Under Siege 2, I think it's pretty much no contest what I enjoy more. Sure, Under Siege 1's got some more, rock-oriented type scenes, and all that, with the fake rock band and kind of the hot Playboy model chick, and but and Gary Busey, and of course Tommy Lee Jones, a great performance. But I find the tightness of the direction by Jeff Murphy, who did Young Guns 2 and Under Siege 2. So for those of you that watch my channel, I discussed Young Guns 2 earlier today. Got me to think about underrated sequels. So right there, Jeff Murphy deserves an award for his great sequels. Because Under Siege 2, in my opinion now, better than Under Siege 1, and Young Guns 2 better than Young Guns 1, and both made by Jeff Murphy, this free agent Australian dude. That doesn't happen all that often. It doesn't happen all that often. Just doesn't happen that often. So what next? I guess I'll mention Young Guns 2 for you to see this channel. And I find it better than the original. Became part of pop culture where Young Guns 1 kind of did, but just go ahead and watch the earlier video. I discussed Young Guns 2 a little bit. Ghostbusters 2. I'm going to toot the horn for Ghostbusters 2. Up until about 6-8 months ago, I didn't really like Ghostbusters 2 all that much, but started watching it over and over. And I was thinking, hey, you know, they could just do number one again. Ghostbusters 2. Peter McNichol's good performance, and with that scary ass Carpathian. I mean, strength of that movie, man. If you ever want to go down some rabbit hole, go ahead and Google the guy that plays the painting that came to life. He had a pretty fascinating life. I forget his name right now, but go ahead and look that up sometime. Pretty fascinating story there. Really good. Really good as a sequel. Might as well discuss what's posted on the video there, which in the photo for the video, that would be Predator 2. I don't really like Predator 1. There was a reason I never really saw Predator 2. I was never really into Predator 1 growing up. I was like Commando, Raw Deal, Running Man, much more. Twins, you know, the later films, even. So seeing Predator 2, especially mind you when it was released in that crowded time period that it was released with Rocky V and Home Alone being in theaters, it should be no surprise that it didn't do well. And I could see why people didn't watch it for many years or never watched it or slander it and say when they did see it, they didn't like it. That's actually what I can't see. I can't see anyone that saw the movie and say that they didn't like it. I could say that they thought, oh yeah, it tanked or whatever, but objectively it didn't do well at the box office. I find the director who did it, did that kind of weird Nightmare on Elm Street one that I don't really like, Part 5, Dream Child. But man, he got some stuff right with Predator 2. I like it from the moment I watch it. It's got a lot of energy. Now, the first time I watched it on DVD, I must have been a little tired. I felt I was getting overwhelmed watching it. There's one part when Bill Paxton walks into the cop's office and police department, and he's all loud and boisterous. I was like, I about have enough of this. I can't keep up with this. It was kind of overwhelming. That's what the movie aims to do. I don't even know much about the Predator mythology, but what they touch on in that movie is definitely very interesting. Got a really strong performance by Danny Glover. A very interesting finale that I find to be fun, funny, exciting, different. Sure, they could have gone with a more typical finale, but what they do is more creative, shows that the movie has flair, whatever you want to say about it. You got Ruben Blades. You got Gary Busey, great performance. Lions, tigers, bears, oh my. He's just in complete great performance mode. I like all the performers in it, actually. Even the lesser known guys, like Jamaican drug lords and all that. It was a good time for Jamaican drug lords. You had Mark for Death right around the same time, and then this. I like how they show Los Angeles being in this modern form of disarray. As someone who's worked in the talk show business for years, I really like Morton Downey playing in the film an effective version of himself in some way. I find that to be great. I find the DVD special features to just be awesome, and the commentaries, and I think it's a mistake that Arnold didn't go make a Predator sequel. But you got to choose your, choose your things wisely, right? It's cash grab with the Terminator one, which was a smart move. And hey, I love Terminator 2. Might as well transition right from Predator 2 discussion to say, Terminator 2's oft talked about, won Oscars, did great money, 200 million domestic back then, hard to achieve, all that. But then you have the redheaded stepchild of the series that people usually try to lump together with the later movies, and that's Terminator 3. Now, when people get recast, sometimes the results are good. Now, would I have wanted Edward Furlong to play the same character that he originated in part two? Absolutely. But not my choice. Not my choice to cast a movie. It's not my choices that they're using. So they decided to recast. And I think by putting Nick Stahl in the role, they've lucked into one of the best sequel or best action movie performances of all time. I really do think that. I really do. I don't know what Nick Stahl's doing now. I hope he's doing well. I think he went full board in that performance. I think the dynamic with him and Claire Danes, sure, it's kind of awkward at times, but it works. I think that dark, sinister ending of it is unbelievable. I think that the symbolism of the movie is not even overwrought, because if it was overwrought, people would say, oh, it's an overwrought symbolism. When they were in that graveyard and stuff, I don't know, you can take away from it a lot of meaning. And people would just kind of disregard the movie and be like, oh, the whole thing sucks. But actually, it's going for quite a lot, actually. And maybe some budget constraints and stuff, admittedly, in the third act, makes it look a little more low tech or low scale. I remember kind of being thrown off in 3 theaters, this big chase, and then they finally get to the place, and then you get into the place, and it looks like it's like outtakes from like a 70s or 80s sci-fi movie. So yeah, I can get criticisms like that, but the DVD pulls out all the stops. Great special features, great commentaries. I had a good theatrical experience seeing it at the AMC Ontario Theater, Ontario 30plex, and going and having a drink at GameWorks, I believe, first. In 2003, July of 03. One of my friends I saw that with is dead. He enjoyed the movie. I think I enjoyed it even more, though. Another sequel. I mean, obviously, I'm a huge fan of Look Who's Talking 1. I think Look Who's Talking 2, sure, not as good, but it's not like half as good or anything. So I think that would kind of be one. I mean, if you haven't seen Look Who's Talking 2, go ahead and check it out. I definitely think it's an underrated film. Jumping ahead, kind of staying in that genre. I have some of these DVDs. I could be flashing them up, each one. I'll do that maybe in a different collection video and whatnot. But I'll try to answer some of these Q&A questions as well. And this point is what am I trying to say? Oh, I was discussing Naked Gun 33 1/3. I think Naked Gun 2.5 is also quite underrated. So I'm sure a lot of you guys probably see Naked Gun 1. Go ahead and see Naked Gun 2.5, The Smell of Fear. More of an environmental parody. I definitely think that one's underrated. Shanghai Nights, the sequel to Shanghai Noon. I like that movie. I don't know which one I like better, in fact. I like both. I wish I could say there was a sequel for Wedding Crashers, but there's not. So we just move on from that. I think 10 Cloverfield Lane or whatever, kind of a sequel in some way. I mean, it's rated. It's good. I liked it, especially the theatrical experience of it and John Goodman's performance. Not a perfect movie or anything, but I liked it. Horrible Bosses 2. movie gets a lot of a bad rap, negative, a lot of negativity. I own Horrible Bosses 1. I don't own Horrible Bosses 2. I didn't hate Horrible Bosses 2. In fact, I actually really liked it for probably the first hour. I think I was laughing my ass off the first hour of it. So I definitely think that I like that one quite a lot. The sequel to National Treasure, I think, is slightly better than the original. Pardon me. Just by just slightly. I think they're both pretty watchable and all that. But you know, I'm not gonna say Wayne's World 2 is great or anything, but I feel that there's some good parts of it. You know, they could have worked a little harder on it. Maybe you could have tightened some things up. Maybe put a couple more things in it. But it got the job done. Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. I really think that's a unique film. Takes things in a completely different direction. I would like if they made that kind of thing as part 3 again. Just kind of a continuation of Bogus Journey. But I don't think that that's going to happen, nor the Top Gun one. That's just me going on record. I think they're all going to break apart. I mean, Rush Hour 2, it's underrated in terms of what it meant for the franchise, because here you got Rush Hour 1 was a hit, but then Rush Hour 2 became like a saber rattling moment for the Rush Hour verse. You know, I mean, shit, we fucking burned down the Desert Inn in Las Vegas to make this movie. We got Michael Jackson in it, and we made like 200 million domestic in the early 2000s. So that's why Rush Hour 3 underperforming like it did. They waited too long. They waited too long on that one. Definitely waited too long. Let me feed this dog. I'll be right back in about 90 seconds. All right. So what are some underrated sequels that you guys like out there? What are some sequels that you think kind of reversed or changed the current of what the movie was all about? I'm going to sing one when I get right back. But as I get over there, it's called Too Fast, Too Furious. Too fast, too furious. Too fast, too furious. You guys know that one? Like that one? Huge fan of that movie. Huge fan of it. Well, something really weird just happened, everyone. Take it away from the discussion about sequels for a minute. Have you ever had a microwave just stop working right underneath you? Literally, have you ever had a microwave just stop working right when you're about to put something in? Have you ever had a microwave just stop working? Well, it just happened to me. live here on the Barbecue Network. I was just about to microwave myself some hot chocolate, and the microwave stopped working. What can you do? So I'm gonna just put some of the powder in and mix it, and have it cold. I guess I could boil some water, quote unquote. I could boil some water, but I don't think I want to. I could boil some water, but I don't think I want to. Too Fast, Too Furious. You know, it's about as fun as you can get. I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was pretty good, in fact. Sure, is it what John Singleton, you know, does it fulfill the great promise of his career? I don't, that's for someone else to decide. You know, Rosewood didn't do well. A couple other projects that he had didn't exactly catch on like his earlier film. So they go ahead and give him Too Fast, Too Furious, and I thought he did a good job. I think it was right after Shaft, or you know, so Shaft and Too Fast, Too Furious. You know, he did a pretty good job. Did a pretty good job. What else we got? As far as underrated sequels or sequels to discuss. What else do you guys like out there? Sequels that you like. We haven't had one for True Lies, but I've always wanted to see one for True Lies. Obviously, Temple of Doom takes things in a completely different horror direction. I think Last Crusade gets too much credit, where Temple of Doom gets too little of credit. I love learning more about Temple of Doom. Temple of Doom. Oh gosh, it may have been the first movie I saw in theaters. 1984 was a great year for movies, and I believe I saw Temple of Doom in theaters, and I saw Ghostbusters in theaters. So it just depends on which one came out first. Just depends on which one came out first, but I did see both. So it's Ghostbusters 1 and Temple of Doom in the same year. Wow, what a good year. I really enjoyed Temple of Doom then and now. I really enjoyed it then and now. So I really feel that it's an underrated sequel. I mean, Back to the Future 2, it's a big mess of a movie. It's got a lot that works, a lot that they kind of just are throwing out there. But yeah, obviously that's a sequel that kind of even, I don't know, in some ways is more watchable than one. I don't know. I love Back to the Future 1 too, but it's as well. But I like what I get out of Back to the Future 2 quite a lot. I'm a fan of Meet the Fockers. So I think I have the Meet the Parents trilogy, quote unquote, and obviously the last one is more of a children's movie, I guess you would say. It's more aimed at children's or family audiences. But I feel like Meet the Fockers is a good movie. You got to Meet the Parents and you got to Meet the Fockers. Yeah, those are both really good movies. Very good impression left by Meet the Fockers the last time I saw it, so I throw that on this list as well. Let's go to the world of animation. Shrek 2, probably my favorite animated sequel. Just going off, I can't stand Toy Story 2. I've never even seen Toy Story 3. Very little interest. I wish there was a Ratatouille, Ratatouille Part 2. But obviously that movie didn't perform like some of the other Pixar movies. I think I've maybe seen Cars 2. I don't know. It didn't register with me if I have. I don't think I've seen any of the Kung Fu Panda movies. I've seen as part of Escape to Africa. And I don't think I've seen Madagascar Part 1, so I think I liked what I saw with Madagascar Escape to Africa. I mean, we could talk about Eddie Murphy, I guess. Why not? Beverly Hills Cop 2, depending on the mood I'm in, I love. I feel it's Tony Scott. grabbing a really cool paycheck, making a good movie right after Top Gun, and this would start his Tony Scottness, his what made his career so awesome, I guess you could say. Some really cool scenes in Beverly Hills Cop 2, and obviously Top Gun and the others. Um, I think another 48 hours, I definitely want to own and rewatch a lot, get more of appreciation for. Because what always threw me off about another 48 hours is that here, you go through the whole thing with him, Eddie Murphy's character arc in part one, and then what happens in part two? Oh, there was some error or something, or he broke the law again, and he's back in jail, and he's getting out again. It's like, all right, this guy couldn't do a damn thing right the last 6-7 years leading up to the sequel. Oh man, but I mean, he helps out and shows his value in part two, obviously. But yeah, that's always been something that kind of grinds at me. All right, I mean, I'm gonna say something that's a little controversial here. Think Quantum of Solace gets a little bit of a harshness to it. So that's technically the number two movie in the Daniel Craig incarnation. So it's a sequel, I guess you would say, even though it's like the 24th or something in the franchise. But at that point, they had reestablished the timeline, or reestablished the Daniel Craig James Bond arc, and people gave it a hard time because it kind of went back and did some of the campiness or some of the overtop set pieces from earlier, Connery or Moore, or even Brosnan incarnations. But you know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't think Quantum of Solace should be getting quite as big a bad rap as it gets. I mean, it's not on the same level as some of the others, but hey, it's not exactly chopped meat or something like that either, as they say. The Two Jakes, it's actually directed by Jack Nicholson. If you got about 3 hours, and I do mean 3 hours because you're probably going to want to rewind some parts and stuff like that. If you got about 3 hours or 3.5 hours, and so you can contextualize what you're watching as well, go ahead and check it out sometime. Go ahead and check out The Two Jakes if you got some excessive amount of time. I do remember it very much when it came out, like in August of '91, and it just flopped. August or September of '91, it wasn't involved in the Oscar race or anything like that. If you think about how significant of a film Chinatown 1 was, or Chinatown 2, The Two Jakes, definitely pales in comparison. Now, obviously, big elephant in the room with that is A, would Warren Polanski even want to direct the story, and B, was he able to? No, he was not able to. He was living as an exile from the United States after his arrest in the 70s. So that must be said. But that being said, The Two Jakes comes off very well. I believe Harvey Keitel is very good in that film. Yeah, that is pretty good. Sequel discussion. Lethal Weapon 2. I highly, highly, highly love Lethal Weapon 2. It's such a brutal movie. I think there's an argument to be made that there's very little aspects about Lethal Weapon 1 that are better than Lethal Weapon 2. But that being said, I'm not going to say that it's that far and away better than Lethal Weapon 2, 1, or whatever. I mean, 1's still very good. Other ones that I like are underrated. You let me know in the comments out there. I'm going to add on to this video with some more underrated sequels. It's kind of a tricky deal when they're involved in a trilogy or in many different incarnations of them because, I mean, there's so many different sequels, really. I guess we could talk about the Friday the 13th and which sequels I like better than others. I've done that in other videos already, so I'll leave that to another time. sequel that I think is underrated from like more recent time. Oh, Future World. I mean, it's not recent time, but Future World, um, the sequel to the Westworld original movie. Go ahead and check it out. It's pretty awesome. Um, Weekend at Bernie's 2. I didn't like it when I first saw it, but I think it's underrated now. Home Alone 2, you know, rated about where it should be, but I think slightly underrated. What other movies are there that are sequels? My Girl 2. I mean, it's not horrible, you know. Now I'm just basically naming some sequels, but RoboCop 2, underrated. Definitely underrated. And we'll leave it there, folks. We'll come back to more sequel discussion talk. There's definitely a lot more sequels that I think are worthy of this discussion. But I wanted to name some that, just not really much preparation, just going over and figuring out what I think about some of these movies and their sequels. So I hope you enjoyed it, and of course, leave your comments and questions, include them, and go ahead and do whatever it is you will. And we'll definitely tune back in with you soon. See if we can get this microwave fixed too. All right, bye for now.